Okay, so I believe we're live, right?
Yes, we are live now.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. I don't think there's anyone in the afternoon um time zone here. So good evening. I'm the only one in the afternoon. Thank you for joining. This is going to be another very mind-blowing and expository session of our book review, The Mind of the Leader by Hougaard, Rasmus Hougaard, and Jacqueline Carter. And basically, we'll be looking at the chapter 7 of the book, The Mind of the Leader. We've been going through this for over a week now, and we've had a lot of exposition into, what leadership should look like from the writer's perspectives, or the writers. They're both two writers, so from their perspectives, basically. And taking us through this would be no other person than myself, Oluwatoyin Aiyedun, going through the book in detail, chapter 7 of the book in detail. But before we go into that, I just wanted to mention that this is the Business Readers Global group, where we are basically a group of like-minded people who come together to, have a good time reading books and reviewing and ensuring that, we learn on a daily. So basically what we do is that we ensure that, we have a community where people feel inclusiveness, where they feel welcomed, where they feel relaxed. And we have these book reviews done from time to time. This year alone, we've done, I think this is our third book. We've done The Mind, or the Attitude is Everything. In January, we started with that. And then we went on to a different book. And now we're on the third book, which is The Mind of the Leader. So important is the fact that, we learn here every day. We learn about leadership skills. We learn about how to better ourselves as individuals. And we do that in a safe space, in a safe community. So really important. If you have friends who are willing to join, please visit our website, which is the www.businessglobalreaders.com. If you check us out, you will find more details on the platform. Okay, thank you very much. So I'll stop there. So we'll dive straight into the book review for today, which is chapter 7 of The Mind of the Leader. Sorry about my last minute slides. I just got to know that I'll be doing this probably 2 hours ago. So I haven't been able to make my slide look perfect. So, but just enjoy the presentation along with me. Yeah. So far, if you look at the flow of the way, the book has been going, the book is divided into, I think, 3 major areas, if you ask me, 3 major frameworks or areas. And the first is to help the leader to understand, oneself, helping the leader understand themselves, And then the second part of the book, the second frame, going to the second part in terms of the way it is broken down, is also understanding your people, and which is where we sort of are right now in that space of understanding our people. Chapter 6 and 7 speaks to understanding your people. I think the first 3 or 4 chapters speaks to understanding yourself, and because the general notion is that if you cannot understand yourself, then it will be difficult for you to lead others. So it's very important for us to first have that self-understanding. Then we can, kind of rub that off on our leadership skills when we lead others. Okay, so this second part of the book, which is about leading our people, that's where we looked at think yesterday we looked at I can't remember what exactly it was, but I think something around leading others. I can't remember. Yeah, but today is, basically mastering mindful leadership. So mastering mindful leadership, and okay, yeah, yesterday was about understanding your people. Yes, thank you. I just remembered understanding your people. So now we're looking at mastering mindful leadership. And I'll just go, okay, let me read. It says the book itself, who should read this book? Who should be part of this reviews? Who should be part of? Who should take part in this? Basically, we're talking about people like people who are top executives. People who are um, leaders generally in organizations, and also people who want to better themselves. Generally, you want to better yourselves, just for your own well-being. This book speaks to, improved leadership traits as a person. It mustn't be for your organization. It might just be also that you just want to gather these leadership skills to make yourself, more self-aware, to make yourself more mindful in the way that you operate, to make yourself more compassionate, because that's what this book really emphasizes. It's about mindfulness, it's about selflessness, it's about being compassionate, so being self-aware. And so if you find yourself in any of those categories, then good thing you're here, because that's what the book helps us to do. So I just wanted to take us back again to, sort of refresh our minds about what we have done so far in the MSc leadership framework. We talked about mindfulness. We say that's being present and aware. When you're mindful, it means that you are always present. It means that you're always aware. It means that, when you're talking to people, when you're in the presence of others, you are there, not just in the physical, but you're also there. Your spirit, your body, your soul, everything, is present. You're not just there as a person, and then people can read through you to say, oh, this person, I can't feel this person's presence, because there are times when we are in a place and people can feel your presence. Either you're so quiet, you don't even contribute, you don't even make yourself seen, you're just there physically. They can't even identify that you were there. If somebody were to, talk about your presence, they would say, oh, I didn't even notice that I was there. That's being mindful. As a leader, you can't afford to be seen, in the rear. You have to always, be the one who ensures that, you coordinate things. You are the one who's ensuring that people, can feel your presence to the extent where they can feel your impact. And that's how leadership works. Okay, so we talked about selflessness, that's putting others' needs before our ego, putting others' needs before our ego. So when you talk about selflessness, like I said the other day, it's not about crying, oh, I'm a servant leader. And then when it's time for you to actually show forth or show the leadership traits or skills that you claim to have, then you let your ego, sort of, clamp down on everything else, or sort of overshadow, your true worth as a leader. So you see leaders who cannot even join their team in doing stuff when they're doing certain things, because they believe that, they're sitting there in that very high position. Oh, let my people do it. They're always there to do it. And sometimes, your selfless acts can just make the difference, because they see that, you are always letting your ego not play before you. You're not letting it stand in the way in that sense. And that just brings people puts them in a place or in a position where, you know, they see their leaders as being part of them. So very important. And I can go on and go on and on with many other sort of, you know, illustration of that. When we go on to compassion, we can see that empathizing and taking positive action, you know, is what that means. Compassion is empathizing and taking positive action. So it goes beyond, you know, just being you know, sorry for them, for your team members, for people around you. You know, you also have to learn to take action. Something has gone wrong, you empathize with the person. If you need, for instance, somebody is bereaved, or somebody has you know, somebody is even probably not feeling well at work or whatever, you empathize with the person by saying, oh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. But imagine that you don't let that person go home to have the rest that they need. Imagine that person is working in fact, it can be any department. I was going to say, if that person is working in, let's say, in a place where safety is, you know, is the priority. Like, let's say you're working on the workshop floor, you're working in a manufacturing environment where somebody, if they are not in their right mindset or state of mind, they might, you know, hurt themselves or hurt other people around them, you know. And because you didn't take that positive action to say, okay, take the rest of the day off, that person might just be in a situation where, you know, their finger might just get grinded by that machine, or something might just go wrong on that particular day, just because a leader, the person who's in the position of leadership, didn't take the right action, basically. And it could, like I said, it could be any department. Maybe it's the guy who's in your accounts department, and then he was supposed to transfer 100,000 naira to a particular, maybe for some reason. And because on that day, you didn't show him compassion, and because he was working with a lot of stress and everything else, you know, it might just put an extra zero at the end of it, and, you know, you've just transferred 1,000,000 naira to someone else. And maybe even if you get your money back, the stress and the rigor that it takes you to get that money back will have cost the organization some time and effort, and maybe some extra money as well. So it's really important for us to understand the people that we work with and to lead them with compassion. So very important. So it says the MSC framework transforms leadership through three core elements. Leaders must first understand themselves before guiding others, which we said before. And I think I will skip this part because I think I did mention a bit of a few. Okay, let me just go over it just quickly. So we talked about understanding yourself, you know, having self-awareness, having values clarity, having continuous growth, that's committing to lifelong learning and adaptation. We talked about emotional intelligence the other day. I think who was the one who did the presentation that was hinging more on emotional intelligence. I can't remember the presenter. Yeah, so we talked about emotional intelligence, which is very important, you know, managing our emotions effectively in challenging situations. If we cannot manage our own emotions, imagine the energy that every other person is bringing from different angles for, you know, within the organization. Imagine what sort of energy, you know, they would bring in. And, you know, whilst you can manage your own emotions, then it means that there will be a clash of interest, there will be a clash of emotions. And then, you know, that leads to leadership failure, because at the end of the day, everyone wouldn't look at the guy who is, you know, at the bottom of the chain, chain of command, sorry, but they will look at the guy at the top and say, oh, this person didn't handle the situation, you know, effectively or properly, you know. So self-understanding forms the foundation of effective leadership. Leaders who know themselves lead with authenticity and purpose. So you need to ensure that, it starts from within. So in this chapter 7, one of the key areas that's been highlighted is the power of presence. The power of presence. And when we talk about power of presence, it is, like I said before, it's really important that whenever you're leading other people, they can see that you are present. You are there in real time with them. It's not, like you are leading from, even if, let's assume that your role is a leadership role that has to do with some sort of distance leadership, in terms of maybe you're in a company where your manager is somewhere, or you are the manager and you're somewhere in Dubai, and the person you're managing is in Lagos, or maybe somewhere else, or vice versa. That doesn't stop you from being present in the moment when you lead. It's not about presence. Is not about just the physical presence, but basically, I mean, that physical presence also matters, but then depending, your physical presence could translate into maybe your online presence, for instance, because you are leading somebody who's far away from you, right? Remotely. So, but the fact that your presence could be translated into that online presence where, okay, on a daily basis, when we resume in the morning, when we have our maybe catch-up meeting, to understand the leader. When leader is there to understand what pain points, the problems, and whatever within the organization. When I mean the organization, I'm talking about now maybe you are the head of department, that's your own organization. You can understand what's going on. You're not just, your presence is not, you don't just come and give orders and walk away. You are always there to understand what's going on. You're always there to link up with members of your team and understand, build a relationship, basically. And so we talk about connection builder. Presence fosters genuine human connection beyond transactional relationships. People feel valued when given full attention. So you don't just dish out, tasks and orders and just walk away and believe that everything will be fine. You have to build that presence, that genuine human relationship, so people feel more valued, say, when given full attention. And we also talk about trust accelerator. It says being fully present signals respect and builds psychological safety. It builds trust, and it develops, or it says trust develops when people feel truly seen and heard. Okay, so we're talking about the trust accelerator now. Remember, we talked about connection builder. So when you are present, and remember I said your presence is not just the physical one, could be an online presence, but when you are present, when they know that the leader is there for them, it makes them respect you more. It makes them feel psychologically safe, because it's just like a relationship between you and maybe family members, for instance. Our family members are the people we spend most of our time with, apart from maybe at work or whatever. Over the weekend, you'll be with your family, hopefully. Morning, evenings, you'll be with your family. That sort of psychological safety, imagine that your children have for having you around. Even when you are not at home from, let's say, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., they know that, mom is coming back, daddy is coming back. That's the psychological safety. So that's the way it works for us as well when we lead people. They just, you know that you've created a safe space for your leader, for your follower, the people that you lead, and then they naturally have that sense of safety. They feel safe in that safe space. Even when you're not there, they know that you are working in their best interest. They know that whatever you are doing is in their best interest. And so that's important. So trust develops when people feel truly seen and heard. And the third one is the engagement catalyst. It says mindful presence increases team engagement and commitment. So when people know that you're always your presence is done in a mindful way, it increases team engagement and increases commitment. Employees reciprocate the attention they receive from leaders. So when leaders are mindful or mindfully leading, you see that their employees would respond. They would feel loved. They will feel cared for. And you see that they reciprocate that easily. So it says presence is the greatest gift you can give another. The core principle, or this core principle, transforms leadership effectiveness through authentic connection. So I'll read it again. It says presence is the greatest gift you can give another. This core principle transforms leadership effectiveness through authentic connection. So for your leadership style to be effective, you need to have that authentic connection. And how do you have it? Is through presence, basically. The presence, let your presence be felt. You might be leading a 5,000-man team. Maybe you can't even see each and every person. But there are ways to make your presence felt. Communication, the more you communicate, the more you are open, the more you are transparent. People see through those things and they value it. And that's where that connection comes in. That's where the trust comes in. That's where the engagement comes in. So these are 3 core values of your presence. When you show, that's why you see CEOs, they can, in big companies, there are companies that, I've worked in a company that probably at the time were over 200 and something thousand employees around the world, right? But the CEO had presence because every time there was communication filtering through, and coming either directly or indirectly, and we could understand the organization's core values, the organization's what we were going to achieve through each year, each financial year, and whatever, the goals and our targets financially and everything, because there was effective communication. That's presence, if you ask me. And in some cases, the CEO also travels around the different countries to see to it that they meet with employees. So let's say in the year they have their year planned out, and that CEO goes around, no matter how dangerous the place. I remember once the CEO of our organization came to Nigeria, and that area in Nigeria is known for kidnapping and all of that quite a lot back then. Was known for that rather, and they still made their way through, even though they came with heavily armed security and everything else. That's to show you the power of presence. And imagine that people like us were shaking with hands with that guy. When he came to our site, we felt valued. We felt like being part of the organization. You understand? So that's the reason why presence matters. Okay. So we also talk in this chapter 7, we're also going to talk about cultivating mindful presence. And how do you cultivate? Cultivating just means, trying to create mindful presence. We talk about creating personal touch points, make intentional moments to connect on a human level. And that's what I just talked about. Imagine the CEO traveling all the way, although some of us will say it's it's a luxury travel because they come on their private jets and whatever, and sometimes they fly the helicopters even to certain places around the world. We'll see it and say, oh, they're out there enjoying. But of course, it takes pain. They leave their families behind wherever, and they travel the world just to come see you as the employee. It takes their time. It takes a lot. And you can imagine that they have to visit maybe within a year, they have to visit maybe between 50 and 100 locations, around the world. So you can imagine the pain and time that it takes them. So, that's very important. You have to be intentional. Also, after creating personal touch points, so it says show genuine interest in people's well-being beyond work tasks. As a leader, that's very important. Don't just make them work, and work for you. You have to ensure that you're showing genuine interest. Understand people, know them in and out, know their families, not for bad, but for good, You just talk about some leaders I've worked with in the past. They know a lot about what's going on in my family, of course, to the extent that I want them to know. But to some extent, they would, oh, how's your son? How's your daughter? How's your this? How's your, they ask the team members those questions, and that way, you feel connected, you feel empowered, basically. So don't just limit everything to work, 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 work. Understand people, what they are going through, and also show empathy. I know yesterday we said sometimes too much of empathy can also lead to, some kind of failed leadership. But you need to know how to balance things, not showing empathy at all and showing too much of it is not good, but you have to be somewhere in the middle, find yourself somewhere in the middle and show empathy. So the next point, which is silence inner distractions. So for you to be able to cultivate mindful presence, you need to learn to silence inner distractions, and that's practicing quiet mental chatter during interactions. Focus completely on the person speaking rather than formulating responses. Sometimes we just want to respond to everything someone is saying rather than listen. Remember, listening is one of the core skills that we need to learn to be able to form ourselves into better leaders. So listen to that person, also don't get distracted when the person is speaking. Understand that person's perspective, so that you can always have valuable contributions or responses to the person's take. Imagine a leader who is not seen as somebody who gives good feedback or response. People will just see you as a non-entity. They just see you as, you're just there collecting money. I've heard of people always speaking about their leaders in that man doesn't even know what he's doing. He's just collecting salary, big salary for nothing. So you want to be a leader that people will see adding value to your organization and the lives of people you lead. Also says that you should do less and be more. You should do less and be more. Okay, how do you do less and be more? It says shift your focus from constant doing to quality of being. So, like I said in one of my past presentations, as a leader, you should learn to delegate tasks and do this, and you don't just want to do everything by yourself to the extent where, your doing now becomes less quality to your organization. Rather, whenever you should be known as somebody, whenever you touch something, it should be a touch of quality. People should see you and say, oh my God, or if they come to you with any problem that they have, they know that you've got that problem solving skills. Even if you don't have it directly, you know who to go to, just know that you have this touch of quality. You have to learn to evolve into leaders that can do that. So it says prioritize listening and empathy over immediate action or solutions. And that's what I talked about before. It says do less and be more. And final conclusion for this one, for cultivating mindful presence, it says mindful presence requires intentional practice. Leaders can develop these skills through consistent application of these strategies. So strategies which are create personal touch points, silence inner distractions, and do less to be more. Thank you. Okay, so I'll just do this one in the next 2 minutes because of our time. So embodied leadership is another thing that we see that stands out in chapter 7, embodied leadership. And what does this mean? Talking about your posture, your body language, your voice qualities. I don't know if Lady Bosoye is on this call. I think yesterday that was one of the feedback that I gave, when she presented, basically. When you look at your posture, when you sit in front of your team, how do you carry yourself? How do you conduct yourself, right? And I'm not saying you should be like the king that will sit down and everybody will be, like afraid to speak or whatever, but you need to carry yourself in a way that people would respect you, people would value you as a leader, right? You don't put yourself in a position where people will just see you as, yes, you are part of the team, you are meant to blend into the team, but at the same time, you don't want to be just that person everybody can trump on top or trample on top of them, So that's quite important. So our posture, it says an open, upright stance conveys confidence and approachability. So again, another thing about posture is don't be seen as being the Hitler or the Margaret Thatcher of the room. Let people be able to approach you. Physical presence communicates leadership before words are spoken. So once people see you, they know that they can approach you. That's why we say be present physically. They know that, oh, this person. Some people, when you see them, you don't even want to go near them. You cannot even ask them for something because already the face is telling a lot. So your posture matters. And even when you're doing anything, your posture, whether you're doing something physically or whatever, your posture matters. Body language, facial expressions and gestures, signal engagement level. Non-verbal cues often speak louder than verbal communication in meetings. So somebody is speaking, let's say your subordinate speaking or your team member, and you don't like what they're saying, and you're already squinting your face, and you're already making your face like, what? And that person is going to feel not comfortable, is going to feel exasperated that they would start saying even more rubbish, or they will not be able to. So as a leader, remember you're building a team, you're building confident people. Your body language would help them even do better. So that's very important. Voice quality, tone, pace, and volume influence message reception. Are you the one that screams and shouts all day over the people you are managing? Are you the one who will, of course, if there is a reason to maybe raise your volume once in a while to, yes, but, what do people know you for? Do they know you as that leader who is always, just not approachable, who's not, who speak to people in a very bad tone, and your pace as well. So you calm down when you speak to people, you ensure that they understand you, the volume, all of these things, they influence message reception. Sometimes imagine you're talking, even in our homes, in our family, just because you raise your voice, your partner thinks that your, husband, wife, they think that, oh, why did you speak to me that way? Or, and that can even cause trouble for that period. So you have to be mindful of these things, and that's what mindfulness helps us to do as leaders. So mindful leaders adjust vocal delivery to enhance understanding and connection. Very important. People you have in your office, you are there by chance. My former manager used to say that if probably we got to this employed before him, probably we might have been his own manager, right? So sometimes it's just time and chance that makes you what you are the leader over. It's not because you know more. Some people even have more degrees more than you. So when you speak to people, speak to them with respect and, speak to them. Even if you are obviously better than them, it still doesn't take that fact away, that you speak to them in a calm and very professional way. So leadership presence has physical dimensions. How leaders carry themselves significantly impacts their effectiveness and credibility with teams. So very important. So leadership presence has physical dimensions. How you carry yourself significantly impacts their effectiveness. You people will say, oh, this guy is a charismatic leader. This guy is this, is a that, Of course, they can also say he's a wicked leader based on his face, based on his appearance, So very important that we moderate our leadership, skill, our leadership embodiment, the way we embody our leadership, posture, body language, and voice quality. And this will be my final slide, I believe. So we say from self to organization, self-leadership. Apply MSC principles to yourself first. Team leadership, extend MSC practices to direct reports. And organizational leadership, scale MSC across entire systems and culture. Says that mindful leadership expands outward from individual to organization. So it is what you embody that you will translate to the organization. But unfortunately, it also goes round. Once it gets into the organization, it can also determine how everyone within the organization will work. Because if the CEO is a mindful leader, everyone else around them at that leadership level will be mindful, and that will cascade into the organization. And then you see, generally, that will be a very good place to work. But when you get that toxicity from the very top, it also goes down to all the levels. So it says the principle work at all levels. So this principle works at all levels, but require intentional scaling strategies. Okay, I'm not going to do all these ones because we've done it in the past presentations, I must say, and these are very common things just to practice your, your leadership skills. So I would not go into that, but I will just end my presentation here. And sorry for the time taken. I don't know how long I spent. I think I spent over 30 minutes there. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm also acting as a facilitator, so I won't be handing out the mic to anyone at this point. So I'll just call in for your contributions. And before that, I'll say, please give Lady Lois Gomez some flowers. Because it's not me speaking, it's Lois. Today is a day. Don't mind me, just kidding. Okay, so let us contribute for those of us in the house. I see we have Dr. Morayo still here, Coach Samira is still here. We have Princess, and I don't know if she can contribute from where she is. I know she's got some engagement. And we have David in the house. So who wants to go first? Chapter 7, we're talking about mindfully leading your people, mindful people leadership. Chapter 7.
Yeah, good day, sir.
Good day,
Can you
sir.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Again, I would just want to commend you on the, coming up and showing up impromptu, you know, taking that impromptu decision and, still leading it in a excellent way. You really excel greatly in in that field. This topic is an interesting topic actually, which is mindful leadership. It shows how intentional we all need to be as an individual, personally, right? Beyond work, right? How we need to relate to people personally beyond work. How we need to go deeper with how we, interact with our fellow employees, our subordinates per se, yeah, because I've also been in that position to see how some of my bosses actually lead, and sometimes how we also crave their presence sometimes, and why how their absence is also not so good. Like today now, I was having a presentation to some of my bosses, and they were asking for my line manager there. And I couldn't say anything actually because she was not there, and she didn't give reasons to why she was not there. Which I know that if she was there, there will be some level to why they'll be able to tackle me, and I should be able to also defend me,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So I could relate to this because her presence was not there. So I I was just trying to ramble around, and they know that, oh, you will just try because there's a level to what you can, defend yourself in. So it's very, very important that, as leaders, you don't see your subordinate as, or you don't select the people that you talk to as subordinates. Because some people do that. They feel that, oh, this one is still trying to blend in. So they don't know that, okay, even though this person is trying to blend in, why don't you find a way
mm,
to embrace them among the ones that, okay, they're already blended already. Right? Try and know them much better in a in a friendly way, right? Not like in a bossy way. You mentioned how it is, you mentioned how, you also try to express yourself to your boss, even to an extent that you always feel like, oh, he's also part of your family, right? That is what everybody crave for. Everybody crave for recognition. Everybody craves to be seen. Everybody craves to be heard of. So, you now limiting somebody could, in a way, right, could in a way affect them, right? And,
mm,
detailing it down, you mentioned some areas in how people should, how the methods which everyone should be more mindful, right, is by, you not having that when you're having a discussion with somebody, right, go deeper with that person, be present with them, and not even having some pre-informed questions you want to tackle
Bias,
them
yeah.
with bias, yes, bias, rather, rather.
Yeah.
Yes, it creates a barrier to why you are listening, what you want to hear from them, right? Not having
Mm,
those is very, very important. Even me too, I'm also learning, right? And not having, silencing those inner distractions, and also, body language again tells a lot, right? When you are listening, that is why I used to watch, like recently, I started watching all these um leaders, right? From Donald Trump to how everybody speaks. I was even telling my brother yesterday, I said, if you look at the way these foreigners, these white men, the way they speak to people, the way they speak to people attending interviews or when they are listening to people, even though they still want to tackle you at the end of the day, but they will take a deeper listening. Like you see the way they are posing, you see the way they are nodding their head, you
mm.
know that yes, it's actually listening so that they can hear me, so that it can give me a better answer to, you know, what I'm saying. Right. So I'm also trying to be in that position of, always present and listening to what people have to say. Sometimes even though they might not be right, or sometimes even though it's something that the discussion has to do with proper, free flow of interaction, I should also be present there. That's all it's all about. So thank you very much, Mr.
Yeah.
Twain.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. That resonates quite well, all you said. Yeah. Um, really brilliant contribution there. Thank you so much, David. Yeah, so I'll go on to the next contribution. I think
Okay,
Samira
good
is
evening,
smiling already.
everyone.
Okay, Dr.
Hello.
Mario is there. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Go
good
ahead,
evening,
ma'am.
everyone. Okay.
Good
My
evening.
thought is about these next steps in your leader's journey and
Mm,
this daily mindfulness that we should begin our day with daily mindfulness. We should schedule, at least have a routine. This is something I'm trying to work on as a leader. I think it's very important. Once you have a routine, you should know how your day will go, and at the end of the day, you should be able to summarize what you have done well, what you need to improve, so that on a daily basis you are improving. Thank you.
thank you very much, Doc. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so next is Samira, Coach Samira.
Thank you, Mr. Toyin. Brilliant presentation. I really must commend you for doing this in 2 hours or less. Well done. And the
Thank you.
slides, they don't look like a rushed slide, actually. They look very well crafted.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So the thing that stood out for me was that was it distraction, silencing distraction. Inner distraction, yes, because I think I struggle with that. Overthinking and analyzing every small and then you get lost in it.
Yeah.
Yes, that I
Very
think
true.
yes, sometimes you get lost and you become so far away from the moment that you're not present in the
Yeah.
moment. You're not acknowledging what is actually happening at that moment.
Yeah.
You've gone far. Yes, so I think I'll practice that. And then the daily planning and routine she was saying, I actually got a planner, but I started using it last week and I was very productive. I kept it for months. But the fact that over the weekend I was able to fill in, okay, I'll do this on Monday, and I filled it in, I was able to achieve it. I think
Yeah.
having that routine, yes, and planning is very good.
Really
Thank you.
important.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think everyone else has spoken. I don't know. I think Princess did put comments in the chat box, but I'm not sure she's able to speak. Princess, if you just say hi or something, we just want to hear your voice. Hi,
Good evening,
Princess.
everyone. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
everyone. So I do have a comment. And first, I want to give you your flowers. Very well deserved accolade, but that is a tradition. I always love to echo what is right, and I think this book has taught us quite a lot. And we've seen the difference between traditional managers stroke turned leaders. Leadership is not in the name,
Mm.
and we've seen also leaders who are very impactful, not born leaders, leaders who have acquired skills, leaders who have grown through the rank, but leaders who also embodied this concept that we so much admire. And
Mm.
Oluwatoyin, Doctor, you have been overly consistent with this behavior, with this trait, with this mindfulness. I think this presentation fits you like a glove. Samira, you mentioned that he did the presentation within less than 2 hours. So one thing is not just the capacity, your capabilities, the skills, but the mindset to show up for your people makes you a great leader. The mindset to be able to put yourself forward first before your team makes you a great leader. And please do take your flowers because I celebrate you today in the boardroom. You are just a great leader and you exemplify every word of a mindful leader. So how do they say it? My cap is off. My salute. I stand at attention, sir. At attention.
We throw away
Unshakable,
salute.
unshakable leader. Let's learn to give praise and honor when it's due and not do it shabbishly because some people praise you, but they do it shabbishly. They say it shouldn't get to your head. Please let it get to your head. Sleep on it. Sleep on it. Marinate it and receive your flowers. I saw the
Thank you
presentation
so much.
slides when David sent it in. Even though I had a meeting, my thought, my whole body was just in the boardroom, right? And when I saw the presentation slide, like Samira said, it doesn't look like a slide that was prepared, in such short notice. And this is things that we do. We do it without effortlessly. However, it's the constant practice, the application of these nuances that shapes you. Nothing more. When you now start to bear those fruit, people think that is a walk in the park. It's not a walk in the park. It takes a lot of effort. So thank you for what you have done today. And even to all members of the boardroom. I've seen tremendous commitment to the things we do without being pulled to do it. Just showing up every evening is not easy at all. I'm just sitting down now listening, so I'm not in front of the camera, but I'm listening. It's not,
Yeah.
it's intentional to want to learn every day. And now just being a lifelong learner, every day we're learning something, we're practicing something, it's shaping us, right? And I think this is a habit that we must keep. It differentiates you from someone who does not have an information. And having information at the right time, at the nick of time, there's a huge difference from a leader who is not constantly trained or is not evolving, especially in a terrain like ours. The example you shared, David, I can relate with it. And I know the pain. Everybody needs a mentor in a room. Everybody needs a mentor who can lift you up, guide you. But I believe that you have the boardroom. You should have just thought about us and maybe just think about your coach, Oluwatoyin, to be in the room. Well, sorry, that room we were not able to enter. But you should have just thought about, the mindset and the landscape that you're coming from. Embody that confidence and remember that you have to push those doors and stand alone with nobody in them because you've been trained. So next time, go with a different mindset and stand tall and take up your questions the way they come. Because at the end of the day, as much as we need a mentor, remember that you're on your own. It's tough to say, but you're on your own. And you're already a leader. You've been mentored. You've been shaped. So next time you go into those rooms, go boldly. To Dr. Morayo and Samira, thank you so much for your contribution. And I would go back to listen to the replay on YouTube tonight before going to bed. Definitely, I will have the opportunity. But I think I must congratulate us all for the wonderful job that we do and to be able to impact our society, our community. This has been a tremendous leap and a milestone to do this back to back for 2 years. Wow. Congratulations to us all.
Thank you so much, Princess.
Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your accolades to everyone. We don't take it lightly because we also have seen lots of good leadership traits from you, and that's why we're following through. So thank you for being a good leader. You know, all of these things that we talked about, you know, the embodiment of a good leader is what you've shown. Okay, because of our time, I wouldn't say much. I know we have a timekeeper in the house today, so we don't want to be. I think we've done well with time so far, and even though we've gone just slightly over, I think that compensates for the time we lost starting late. Okay, so I'll just end with these final words. Winston Churchill, he says, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." As great leaders, you know, we have to ensure that we are moving on, we are evolving, we are changing. And all of these things we have talked about today and even before now, and, you know, till this book gets wrapped up, is for us to get better. And if we feel that, you know, we have not done well in the past in any of the areas we've covered, it's another opportunity for us to go back and recalibrate, you know, go back and regulate ourselves and see how we can get better as leaders. Thank you very much. And on this note, we'll end tonight's presentation, chapter 7 of the book, The Mind of the Leader, which speaks about or talks about, you know, basically mindfully leading others or our people. And thank you everyone who joined, Samira, Coach Samira, Dr. Morayo, David, Technical, and Princess. And see you on Monday. I was going to say see you tomorrow, but it's Thursday, so we are ending here this week. So see you on Monday. Thank you. God bless you. Have a good weekend.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.